Yes, villagers. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about 4 things that I learned from the life of civil rights great Reverend C.T. Vivian. If you're unfamiliar with that name, you're going to learn a lot. If you're new to this channel, welcome to our village. If you're a returning villager, welcome as well. So, let's get into it. Welcome to Garden of the Mind, where we reduce stress, improve our health and fitness, and improve our financial IQ every episode. We must believe more than we see. Reverend C.T. Vivian, which stood for Cordell Tyndall Vivian, was one of the premier advisors to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King during the time that he was alive. Reverend Vivian walked with Dr. King during the March on Washington. Although I wasn't alive at the time, one of the things that I remember about Reverend C.T. Vivian was when he was petitioning for the right to vote, and he was at the courthouse steps with a crowd behind him, and the Dallas County Sheriff punched him in the face right while cameras were rolling during live TV. And he got up and continued to petition for the right to vote. There were several things that I also learned about Reverend C.T. Vivian after his passing, which I'm about to share. Learning point number 1. Reverend C.T. Vivian said that in order for you to go into these situations where you don't know the outcome, you have to be prepared for fear. And he wasn't talking about fear of himself or some of the other demonstrators. He was saying that you had to prepare for the fear of the other people. Now, he shared a story about how he was demonstrating and one of the police officers saw him and he could tell that he had nothing but animosity for him just for being born. He spoke to his friend to find out exactly what might have been his problem, only to find out that this police officer was very angry with him for looking a white man in the face, which was something that was not supposed to be done at that time. He also speaks about being prepared in terms of being trained to do nonviolent work. He said that he and some of his counterparts had trained for a full year before they even engaged in nonviolence. One of the techniques that he shared was when you are participating in a nonviolent protest, the police are going to continue to beat you and beat you and beat you. So what they did was, as the police officer hit one, the other would jump in front of their bodies, and each one would continue to jump in front of each other's bodies to limit the blows that they all sustained. That was a nuance in itself, because I didn't know that there was a particular technique that they used when they were getting beat. Learning point number 2. He believed that there was supposed to be a relationship between the poor and not the rich, but the poor and the just. So he spoke frequently on the Bible verse Amos 3:10, which says they don't know how to do right, and speaks about how they store their riches through violence. So he spoke and preached about that particular verse, and he really honed in on the fact that a lot of the people at that time were doing the wrong thing. So there was a very, very strong moral code to do the right thing. He spoke about how you could not be considered a Christian and still be racist. With that verse, Amos 3:10, he speaks about Amos being a shepherd and watching the bigger sheep take the feed from the smaller sheep. So he was saying that we have to have a duty towards equity and not allow the bigger sheep to take from the smaller sheep. And he used a beautiful metaphor in terms of us being the smaller sheep that has to be protected against the larger sheep in society. He said if we do not know how to love people, then we are not worth the humanity that God gave us. That's pretty deep. Learning point number 3. He said that if a people do not produce scholars, then they won't be respected by other people. I think that it's very important for a child to be taught their history. Now, I think about that because now in 2020, there are so many African American children who don't know their history. Some of the parents don't pass it down because they may not know it themselves. Whether this education is taking place or not, I think that it needs to take place a lot more, and I think that Reverend C.T. Vivian would agree. Learning point number 4. Reverend C.T. Vivian said, that racism destroys more black people than any factor in American society. Now in 2020, I think about exactly how true that statement is. There are so many things that African Americans endure, and if you look at the heart of it, racism is usually there to pull the strings. So while these things seem like the struggle was a long time ago and the struggle was over, I can certainly see that the struggle is absolutely not over. It has just changed. The loss of Reverend C.T. Vivian is absolutely a big one. However, I'm thankful that some of his lineage lives in video, and I can go back and watch these things and see exactly what the factors were in the struggle at that time. He was a tremendous strategist and thought about exactly how to orchestrate the change that was necessary. He spoke about how we cannot win this war towards equality with force, but we also could not stand and do nothing at the same time. He spoke about how Dr. Martin Luther King believed that and how that was integral towards their nonviolent movement. Rest in peace, Reverend C.T. Vivian. Hopefully this video has given you a little bit about Reverend C.T. Vivian's life. Hopefully that can start and whet your appetite to do more research and take a look and see exactly how and why this man was so great. If you like this video, please give it the thumbs up. If you like this channel, please subscribe. If you want to know when I post, which is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, please click on that notification bell so you click it, you hear that ding, you know that a new video is created, and you'll be the first one to see exactly what it was that was said here. And remember, thoughts are actions, words have power, and actions have consequences. I'll see you for our Friday portion.